October is typically viewed as a spooky month, but historically all the fright hasn't necessarily revolved around Halloween.
News 8's Dave McKinley has proof of that as he presents the big scares of decades past in this special All Hallows Eve rendition of News 8 Then.
10 years ago this week, the big scare was political incorrectness coinciding with the World Series between the Atlanta Braves and the Cleveland Indians, and the Braves fans in particular who tomahawk chopped their team to victory. It sparked a fierce debate over Indian mascots, a debate which a decade later continues unabated, much as it did this week in 1995. 20 years ago this week, the big scare was AIDS. Folks fraught with fright largely due to their misunderstanding in the early days. Listen for yourself to where we were back then.
If you go around drinking other people's pot, it can be caught easy, I think.
AIDS panic has led to brutal beatings of gay men on Monroe Avenue.
There is a case of a person who has a relative who has AIDS and been notified by her employer that possibly she shouldn't work for them any longer.
AIDS is a plague in America.
Insurance companies want to test applicants.
AIDS Rochester can get liability insurance for our office and our volunteers. Funeral directors refuse to take the body of a person with AIDS.
Though he'd said it 50 years before, the words of Franklin Roosevelt that we'd nothing to fear but fear itself rang true again this week in 1985. 30 years ago this week, frightening things lurked at the grocery store in the form of artificial sweeteners and colorings. How about a little red dye number 7 scarecrow?
Children especially should be kept away from highly artificial foods like these.
Ooh, look, aerosol sprays.
1 million tons of fluorocarbons are being pumped into the atmosphere every year. The resulting extra radiation could raise air temperatures and melt the polar ice cap.
40 years ago this week, it was the Big Red Scare.
So we consider the Communist Party of the United States and its sympathizers to be one of the major forces working to destroy our basic American heritage.
We also got spooked about these dolls. Soldiers in Vietnam were sending these little cuties back home to loved ones. Then a rumor started that the Viet Cong were actually mailing them and they were booby-trapped. It got so out of hand that a number of them were sent to the county lab, which dutifully tested them for anything deleterious and concluded there was nothing wrong with these little treats, just a trick, the stuff of Halloween itself and the days of News 8 Then.